My boyfriend's family spoke Spanish all night, thinking I couldn't understand. I'd been dating Carlos for 3 months when he invited me to his little sister's quinceañera. Fair warning, he said. My family gets loud and switches to Spanish when they're excited. Just smile and nod. I'll translate when I can. What Carlos didn't know, I'd been a food and culture writer for City Lifestyle magazine for 5 years under the name Elena Rodriguez, fluent in Spanish. I'd covered more quinceañeras than most people had attended. The moment we walked in, I was amazed. Pink and gold everywhere. Mariachi playing full blast. The air thick with the smell of fresh Mexican food. His sister Isabella glowed in her dress like royalty. Carlos's mom, Rosa, pulled me into a hug. "Welcome, mija. You look beautiful." Then she leaned into Carlos and whispered in Spanish, "She's very pretty, but I hope she understands our traditions." And from that moment, the comments began. By the cake table, I heard his Aunt Carmen snicker to her son Diego. "Mira a la güera, she looks lost." Diego laughed. "She doesn't even know what the ceremony means." Then his grandmother handed me a tamale on a cup. "Try this, sweetheart." But when she turned to Rosa, she muttered, "Pobrecita, no sabe ni cómo comerlo." Poor thing doesn't even know how to eat tamales. I slowly unwrapped the husk, pretending not to notice. Uncle Roberto passed by. "Look at her. Probably thinks you eat it with the wrapper. Estas Americanas aprenden despacio." Aunt Maria said, "These American girls learn slowly." Carlos tried to keep up with everything, translating half sentences. "They're just excited. Are you having fun?" I nodded. Then I heard this from his uncle. "Carlos está perdiendo el tiempo. Esta no va a durar." Carlos is wasting his time. This won't last. And Rosa, my hugger from earlier, "Ella no habla español, no conoce nuestras costumbres. ¿Cómo van a tener una familia?" She doesn't speak Spanish, doesn't know our customs. How will they have a family? That one hit deep. I could take being underestimated, but being erased from his future just because of assumptions. And then during the money dance, it happened. His little cousin Maria tripped and scraped her knee badly. She sobbed, blood trickling down her leg. "Duele mucho." It hurts so much. That's when I was done being quiet. I knelt down and said in perfect Spanish, "Tranquila, mi amor. Déjame ver tu rodita. Vas a estar bien. Calm down, love. Let me see your little knee. You'll be okay." The entire family went dead silent. Conversation stopped. Forks hovered midair. I kept tending to Maria. "You know," I said, "when I was your age, I fell at a party too." My grandma said, "Scars mean you lived your best life that day." Maria giggled through her tears. "You speak Spanish so well." I stood up. The silence was loud. I looked around at all the shocked faces, the same ones who whispered all night thinking I didn't understand. "I heard everything," I said. The jokes, the judgment, the comments about my future with Carlos. Carlos's face was frozen. "You speak Spanish? Since when?" "Since always," I said. Then I pulled a card from my purse. "I'm Elena Rodriguez. I write for City Lifestyle. I've covered cultural celebrations for 5 years. I've written about quinceañeras more times than I can count. I understand your traditions." Rosa gasped. "Wait, you're Elena Rodriguez? The article about the Hernandez quinceañera? That was you?" I nodded. "And this celebration, it's more beautiful than anything I've ever covered. The love, the detail, the history, it's perfect." His grandmother stood up, tearful. "Forgive us, Hisha. We didn't know." "You didn't ask," I said gently. "You assumed." Carlos took my hand, stunned. "Why didn't you tell me? You never asked. You assumed I needed protection from your world instead of seeing I might already be part of it." The grandmother touched my face. "Teresa, you came back." Rosa tried to guide her away. "Mama, no, that's Carlos's girlfriend." But grandmother held my face, studying me. "I'm sorry we said those things about your writing." The family shifted uncomfortably. Then her eyes changed, suddenly sharp. "You need to leave. Leave this boy before they do to you what we did to Teresa." She wasn't confused anymore. Rosa went pale. "Mama, don't." But grandmother turned to her daughter. "We killed that girl's spirit, and you know it." The room went silent. Then grandmother pulled something from her dress pocket, a death certificate dated 15 years ago. Teresa's name at the top, cause of death left blank. The paper shook in her wrinkled hands. I stared at it, my brain trying to make sense of what I was seeing. A death certificate for someone who was supposedly dead, except the cause was just empty, like someone had started the paperwork and given up halfway through. Carlos stepped forward, reaching for the document. "Abuela, what are you doing with that?" His grandmother's eyes were clearer than they'd been all night, sharper, like someone had turned on a light behind them. I kept it to remind myself what we're capable of. Rosa moved fast, snatching the certificate from her mother's hands. The paper crumpled under her grip. "Mama has her episodes," she said, her voice tight and controlled. "She gets confused about the past. Teresa was a girl from the neighborhood who moved away years ago, that's all." But the old woman shook her head slowly, deliberately. "No confundas a esta muchacha como confundimos a Teresa." Don't confuse this girl like we confused Teresa. Uncle Roberto cleared his throat loudly. "Okay, I think it's time we all—" "I'm not confused," the grandmother said in English, looking right at me. Her accent was thick, but her words were precise. "And neither are you, mija. You heard everything tonight. You know what they do." Carlos pulled me aside gently, his hand warm on my elbow. "I'm so sorry." She has dementia. She mixes up stories, creates things that never happened. There was a Teresa, but she just moved to another state for work. My grandmother gets her mixed up with someone who actually died in the family, like years ago. I wanted to believe him. The way he looked at me, so earnest, so embarrassed. His eyes were soft and apologetic. The rest of the family had already started moving, talking, trying to restart the party like nothing happened. Someone turned the music back up. Conversations resumed at half volume. "Let me take you home," Carlos said quietly. "I'm really sorry about all of this. This isn't how I wanted tonight to go." I glanced back at the grandmother. She was watching me with those sharp eyes, and she mouthed one word, "Corey, run." In the car, Carlos held my hand at every red light. His thumb traced circles on my skin, a gesture that usually made me feel safe. "My family loved you. Before the grandmother thing, I mean. They were really impressed. They talked about me like I wasn't there for 2 hours straight." "I know," he squeezed my hand. "And that was wrong. But you have to understand, they've seen me date girls who didn't care about our culture, who treated family dinners like some kind of obligation. They were protecting me. They were wrong. But I get why they did it, you know?" I stared out the window, watching the streets pass. "Your grandmother seemed pretty clear about Teresa. She has good days and bad days," he said softly. "Today was apparently a bad day. She's scared she'll forget people, so sometimes she creates these dramatic stories to make sure she remembers. It's sad, actually. My mom cries about it all the time." That made sense. Sort of. Dementia did that to people. Made them mix up timelines and create false memories. We pulled up to my apartment. Carlos walked me to my door, kissed my forehead like I was something precious. "Come to Sunday dinner. Please, let my mom apologize properly. Let my family show you who they really are when they're not being protective idiots." I hesitated. Something felt off, but I couldn't name it. "Please," he said again. His eyes were so hopeful. "I really like you. I don't want my abuela's confusion to ruin something good." "Okay," I heard myself say. Sunday dinner. His smile could have lit up the whole block. He kissed me once more, slow and sweet, and headed back to his car. I watched him drive away, then went inside and immediately opened my laptop. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a second before I typed Teresa and Carlos's last name into Facebook. 3 profiles came up. One was a teenager in braces posting TikToks. One was a woman in her 60s sharing recipes. And one was a woman around my age, living in Las Vegas, Nevada, with an active profile. Recent photos of her at Red Rock Canyon, recent posts about her new job at a marketing firm, very much alive. Her last post was from 2 days ago, a sunset photo over the strip with the caption, "3 years free and I still celebrate every single day. 3 years free." My hands were shaking as I clicked message. I typed and deleted 4 different versions before I finally sent, "Hi Teresa, I know this is going to sound completely insane, but I'm dating someone with your last name, Carlos. Tonight at his sister's quinceañera, his grandmother showed me a death certificate with your name on it and told me to run. I found your profile and I just need to know, am I losing my mind or something seriously wrong here?" I hit send and stared at the screen, my heart pounding. The scene notification popped up immediately. Then the dots appeared. She was typing. My phone rang 30 seconds later, a Nevada number. I answered with shaking hands. "Hello? Did they criticize you all night in Spanish thinking you couldn't understand, then flip to being sweet and welcoming the second they found out you could?" Her voice was urgent, breathless, like she'd been running. "Tell me the truth." My stomach dropped. "Yes, exactly that. And Rosa, Carlos's mom, did she hug you like you were already family? Called you mija right away?" "Yeah." "Oh my God." I heard her moving around on the other end, footsteps on hardwood. "Okay, listen to me very carefully. That's the test. They want you to feel like an outsider so Carlos becomes your only translator to their world, your only access point, your only bridge to understanding them. Do you understand what I'm saying?" I sat down hard on my couch. "You dated him for 2 years." Her voice cracked. 2 years where I slowly stopped being myself. By the end, I couldn't make a single decision without checking with Rosa first. Not one. I'd stopped seeing my friends because Rosa always needed help with something when I had plans. I dressed how she told me to dress because she said Carlos preferred certain styles. I ate what she told me to eat. I felt grateful, like genuinely grateful, when they approved of me, like it was some kind of gift they were giving me. Teresa. I left when I realized I couldn't remember the last time I'd made a choice that was just mine. When I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the person staring back. She paused and I heard her breathing hard. "The death certificate is real. Rosa made it after I left. She told everyone I died in a car accident because to her, leaving the family is the same as dying. You stop existing if you're not part of their world. You become dead to them, literally." I felt sick. That's insane. It is. It absolutely is. But here's what you need to understand. It doesn't happen all at once. It's slow, so slow you don't notice. Little changes that seem reasonable, little compromises that make sense in the moment, and by the time you realize what's happening, you're already in so deep that leaving feels impossible. Her voice got quieter. "You're already changing and you don't even know it yet. I'm not." Check your text to Carlos from the past few weeks. Right now. Really look at them. I pulled up our message thread with my free hand, scrolling back through conversations. And there it was, like a pattern I'd somehow missed. "Is it okay if I take this work assignment? It's out of town for a few days and I know we usually do dinner Wednesdays. What do you think I should wear to my friend's wedding? I want to make sure it's appropriate. Do you mind if I visit my parents next month? I know we had plans but they really want to see me and I haven't been home in a while. Is it cool if I grab drinks with Jen on Friday? I can cancel if you want to do something." Oh my God. I never asked permission for anything before I met him. I made my own decisions. I wore what I wanted. I saw my family whenever I felt like it. I met my friends without checking in first. When had I started asking? You see it now. Teresa's voice wasn't a question. I have to go, I whispered. Be careful, she said. And if you need anything at all, you message me. I mean it. I went through this alone and I don't want that for you. I hung up and stared at my phone. The control had already started, weeks ago, and I hadn't even noticed it happening. I spent the next 3 days analyzing every interaction I'd had with Carlos, every text, every conversation, looking for the moment when I'd started changing. It wasn't one moment, it was 100 small ones. The first time he'd said, "You're wearing that?" Not mean, just curious. And I'd changed because I wanted him to think I looked good. The time he'd mentioned his mom made the best enchiladas, and I'd stopped ordering Mexican food when we went out because I didn't want to seem like I was comparing. The way he'd sigh when I mentioned work trips, not saying anything, just sighing. And I'd started asking if it was okay instead of just going. Death by 1,000 tiny cuts. Sunday dinner rolled around and I almost canceled. But I needed to see this clearly. Needed to know if Teresa was right or if I was being paranoid. Sunday dinner was at Rosa's house, a small craftsman in a neighborhood where every lawn was perfect and every house had the same beige paint. The smell of pozole hit me the moment I walked up the driveway. Rosa answered the door and pulled me into a hug that lasted too long. Her arms were tight around me, almost possessive. Mija, I'm so glad you came. I felt terrible all week about what happened at the party. It's okay. No, it's not okay. She pulled back, holding my shoulders, her rings pressing into my skin. We judged you without knowing you. That was wrong. Really wrong. Come inside. The whole family was there. Uncle Roberto with his beer, Aunt Carmen setting the table, Diego on his phone, Isabella and 3 of her friends giggling in the living room. They'd set up the dining room like it was Thanksgiving, with the good plates and cloth napkins. Everyone greeted me warmly, apologized, told me how impressed they were that I knew Spanish, that I understood their culture, that I wasn't like other girls Carlos had dated. It should have felt good. Instead, Teresa's words echoed in my head. Make you feel like an outsider so Carlos becomes your only translator. Carlos pulled out my chair like a gentleman, kissed the top of my head. See, I told you they loved you. Dinner started off normal. The pozole was incredible, rich and spicy with the hominy soft and perfect. Conversation flowed in that chaotic bilingual way big families have, everyone talking over each other. Rosa asked me about my work, seemed genuinely interested in the articles I'd written. You must be so proud, a real writer in the family, like it was already decided. Then halfway through the meal, she said, Mija, we hold our fork this way. She demonstrated, her smile warm but firm. Her fork was in her left hand, tines down. I looked down at my hand. I was holding my fork normally, American style, the way I'd held a fork my entire life. It's more elegant, she added. Trust me. In nice places, this is how you do it. I adjusted my grip, feeling awkward. Carlos nodded approvingly across the table. 10 minutes later, I laughed at something Diego said, and Rosa reached over, touching my arm. Her nails were sharp. That laugh is a little loud for the table, mi amor. Just a bit softer, okay? We're not at a bar. My face burned. Oh, sorry. Don't apologize, she smiled. I'm just helping you. You want to make a good impression, right? Uncle Roberto was watching. So was Aunt Carmen. They all saw me being corrected like a child. After dinner, Rosa stood behind me and gathered my hair in her hands. Let me fix this for you. You have such beautiful hair, but the way you style it hides your face. Men like to see your face, mija. I instinctively pulled back. Rosa's warm expression vanished for just a second, her eyes going cold and hard. Then it returned, bright and loving like flipping a switch. I'm just trying to help, mija. You want to look your best, don't you? I know, I said quickly. Thank you. She styled my hair, pulling it back tight, and the whole table complimented me. Carlos looked proud, like I was his project and he'd finally gotten me right. But I felt like a doll someone had rearranged. After dinner, Rosa asked me to help in the kitchen, just the 2 of us. The rest of the family stayed at the table, their voices carrying through the doorway. We washed dishes in silence for a minute before she started talking. You know, Carlos has always wanted a big family. 3, maybe 4 kids. He'll be such a good father. She scrubbed a plate, not looking at me. And holidays are so important to us. You'll host Christmas, of course, once you're married. Family comes to our house every year. It's tradition. We rotate between the kids, but Carlos is the oldest, so you'll take the biggest holidays. I kept drying dishes, the towel rough in my hands. And you'll want to learn my recipes, she continued. Carlos loves my cooking. It's important that his wife knows how to make the dishes that remind him of home. I can teach you. We can cook together every Sunday. Rosa, I'm just thinking ahead, mija. Planning our future together. She finally looked at me, her eyes sharp. You do want a future with my son, don't you? I mean, we've only been dating 3 months. The warmth drained from her face completely. She stopped washing dishes and turned to face me fully, water dripping from her hands. So you're wasting my son's time. It wasn't a question. No, I just meant, Carlos is 32 years old. He's not looking for something casual. He's not looking to play house. He's looking for a wife, a partner, a mother for his children. Her eyes were hard, searching my face. If that's not what you want, you should leave now before you hurt him, before you waste any more of his time. My throat felt tight. I'm not trying to waste anyone's time. Then what are you trying to do? She crossed her arms, suds sliding down to her elbows. Because from where I'm standing, it sounds like you want to play house without making a real commitment. You want the fun parts without the actual work. I just think 3 months is early to be planning weddings and babies. Is it? She stepped closer, and I could smell her perfume, heavy and floral. Or is that what they tell you in your modern American relationships? Date for years and years, never commit to anything, keep your options open, string men along until you get bored and move on to the next one. That's not fair. What's not fair is leading my son on when you're not serious about him. She turned back to the sink, her movements sharp. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're different. Maybe you actually care about family instead of just yourself. The kitchen felt smaller, hotter, the walls pressing in. I do care, I said quietly. Then show it, Rosa said without looking at me. Actions, mija, not words. Anyone can say words. In the car ride home, Carlos was silent. His jaw was tight, muscle working under his skin. His hands gripped the steering wheel too hard. Finally, he spoke. My mom called me crying after you left the kitchen. My stomach dropped. What? She said you were cold to her, distant, that when she tried to talk to you about the future, about our future, you shut her down. He glanced at me, eyes unreadable. She felt rejected. She said she's just trying to welcome you into the family and you're making it really difficult. I didn't shut her down, I just said 3 months was early. For what? For thinking about whether you want to be with me long term? He pulled over on a side street, a residential area with no streetlights, and put the car in park. The engine ticked in the silence. I thought you wanted something real, not some casual American relationship where we date for 5 years and maybe move in together if it's convenient. Maybe get married if we feel like it. Maybe have kids if it works with our careers. That's not what I said. Then what are you saying? His eyes searched mine in the darkness. Because my mom opened her heart to you tonight. My whole family did. They apologized for judging you, they welcomed you, and you made her feel like she was pushing too hard just for caring about my future, for caring about us. Carlos, she was literally planning our wedding in her head. So, is that so terrible? That she's excited about us? That she sees you as part of the family already? He shook his head, looking tired suddenly, disappointed. I thought you were different from the others. I thought you understood what family means, what real commitment looks like. I do understand. Do you? He looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. Because it doesn't feel that way. It feels like you want all the good parts of being with me without any of the actual commitment. Without the family, without the traditions, without the future. I felt tears burning behind my eyes. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset her. His expression softened immediately. He reached over and took my hand, his thumb stroking my skin. I know you didn't, baby. You're still learning how we do things. My mom comes on strong sometimes, but it's because she cares so much. She sees how happy you make me, and she just wants to protect that. She wants to make sure you're serious. I'll do better, I heard myself say. The words came automatically like I'd rehearsed them. I know you will. He kissed my hand, his lips warm. You're different. I knew it the moment I met you. You're not like those other girls. He dropped me off at my apartment with a long kiss and a promise to call me tomorrow. I went inside and immediately threw up in the bathroom. Rosa started calling the next day. My phone buzzed at 10 a.m. Mija, I need help running errands. Can you come with me? I have to pick up some things for Isabella's school project, and you know how these stores confuse me. I had a deadline for an article about food trucks in the arts district. I'm actually working right now. Oh, a pause, long and heavy. Of course. Your work is important. I understand. But her tone said she didn't understand at all. Her tone said I was choosing work over family, over her. 2 hours later, Carlos texted. Mom said she asked for help and you were too busy. She's hurt. She does a lot for us, and I think it would mean a lot if you could help her sometimes. I called Rosa back. What time do you need me? Her voice brightened immediately, like sunshine breaking through clouds. You're such a sweet girl. 2 o'clock? I canceled my afternoon and rescheduled my interview with the taco truck owner. The next day, she needed help picking up Isabella from school because her car was making a weird noise. The day after that, she needed someone to translate at a doctor's appointment because the receptionist spoke too fast. Then she needed help grocery shopping because the bags were too heavy. Then she needed help organizing her closet because her back hurt. Each request alone was reasonable. Helpful daughter-in-law stuff, normal family things. But they came constantly, every single day, sometimes twice a day. And each time I said I couldn't, Rosa's voice would get small and wounded. Oh, I thought we were building something real. I thought you wanted to be part of this family. But it's okay. I understand. You're busy. Then, like clockwork, Carlos would text or call, mentioning casually that his mom was hurt, that she felt like I didn't care, that maybe I wasn't as family-oriented as he'd thought, and I'd rearrange my schedule, cancel plans, push back work, show up with a smile. By the end of the week, I realized I hadn't seen my best friend Jen in 3 weeks. I'd rescheduled 2 work meetings. I'd turned down a weekend assignment in Palm Springs that I actually wanted to do. I was wearing a blouse Rosa had complimented, a boring beige thing that wasn't my style at all, instead of my usual vintage band tees because I knew I'd see her today. And that morning, I'd caught myself drafting a text to Carlos asking if it was okay to take a weekend assignment in San Francisco, asking permission for my own job, the job I'd had years before I met him. I stared at the unsent message and felt something cold settle in my chest. This is how it happens. Slowly, then all at once. Teresa's words. I deleted the text and called in sick to Rosa's errands. turned off my phone, sat in my apartment, and tried to remember who I was before Carlos. For 2 days, I didn't answer Rosa's calls. I turned off read receipts. I ignored texts. I focused on work, caught up on the assignments I'd been pushing aside, saw Jen for coffee, and actually listened to her talk about her life instead of being distracted by my phone. Wore my own clothes, my ripped jeans, and my Ramones shirt. It felt like learning to breathe again. On the third day, Rosa showed up at my office. My coworker Kiara knocked on my cubicle wall. "Hey, there's someone here to see you. Says she's your boyfriend's mom." I looked up and saw Rosa in the lobby through the glass walls, holding a container of food, looking small and sad and worried. She was wearing black like she was in mourning. Shit. I went out to meet her, aware that everyone in the office could see us. Lauren, my editor, was watching from her desk. So was Mike from accounting. So was Kiara. "Mija, I was so worried." Rosa pulled me into a hug, tight and desperate. "You haven't been answering my calls. I thought something happened. I thought maybe you were in an accident or sick or, I'm sorry, I've just been swamped with work." I know. You work so hard." She held up the container and I could see it was pozole, the same kind from Sunday dinner. "I made you lunch. Your favorite. I remembered you loved it." Kiara was definitely watching. So was Lauren. So was the intern whose name I couldn't remember. "That's really sweet, but I just wanted to be close to my future daughter-in-law," Rosa said, loud enough for the whole office to hear. Her voice carried across the open floor plan. "I know I can be too much sometimes. I know I call too much and ask for too much help. I just care so much about you and Carlos. I just want us to be close, like real family." My face burned. Everyone was looking now, pretending they weren't. Conversations had stopped. Keyboards had gone silent. "Thank you," I said, taking the container. The plastic was warm in my hands. "I really appreciate it." "Good." She smiled, but her eyes were hard. Satisfied. She'd won something. "I'll let you get back to work. Call me later, okay? I miss hearing your voice." I nodded. She left, and I stood there holding pozole while my coworkers pretended they weren't staring. Lauren caught my eye and mouthed, "You okay?" I nodded and went back to my desk, but I wasn't okay. I felt trapped, humiliated, like I'd just been marked in front of everyone I worked with, like Rosa had pissed on a tree and established territory. That night, Carlos came over without calling first. He used the key I'd given him last month. When had I given him a key? And was sitting on my couch when I got home from a late meeting. "Baby, what's going on?" He sat there looking genuinely confused, genuinely hurt. "My mom is devastated. She says you've been avoiding her, that you were cold when she brought you lunch today. She said you barely even thanked her." I wasn't cold. "She's crying, Elena. Like actually crying. My whole family is confused. They opened their hearts to you, they accepted you after you literally exposed yourself at Isabella's party, and now you're pulling away?" He ran his hands through his hair, a gesture that usually made him look vulnerable. What happened to the girl who understood family, who wanted to be part of something real? "I'm not pulling away. I just need some space." "Space from what? From people who love you?" He looked at me like I was speaking another language, like I was saying something incomprehensible. "Maybe you're not ready for real commitment. Maybe you're too independent for what I need. Maybe I was wrong about you." The words hit like a slap. "I am committed. Are you?" He stood up, pacing my small living room. "Because it doesn't feel that way. It feels like the second my family got too real, too close, too much like actual family, you started running. You started making excuses. You stopped answering calls. That's not what's happening." "Then what is happening?" He was calm now. Too calm. The kind of calm that's scarier than yelling. "Explain it to me. Because from where I'm standing, you're acting like every other American girl I've dated who says she wants family but really just wants the idea of it. The Instagram version, not the actual work." I felt myself shrinking, wanting to prove him wrong, wanting to show him I was different, that I was worth it, that I could be what he needed. And then I heard Teresa's voice in my head, clear as a bell. "This is exactly where I was before I stopped being me. You're at the edge." "I need space from your family," I said, my voice shaking but firm. "Not from you, but the pace is too intense. Your mom calls me every single day, multiple times a day. She shows up at my work. She plans my entire future without asking me what I want. I can't breathe." Carlos stared at me for a long moment. The silence stretched. Then he nodded slowly, deliberately. "I understand." Relief flooded through me. "You're not who I thought you were." The relief died. "I need someone who values family the way I do. Someone who doesn't see my mom's love as suffocating. Someone who doesn't need space from the people who care about her." His voice was quiet, sad, disappointed. "I thought that was you. I really did. I was wrong. Carlos." "It's okay." He moved toward the door, grabbing his jacket from the hook. "You're honest, at least. I appreciate that. Better to know now than waste more time." "Wait," but he was already leaving, pulling the door open. "Take care of yourself, Elena. I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for." The door closed. I stood there in my living room, my whole body shaking, feeling like I just failed some crucial test I didn't know I was taking. He'd just ended it, but he'd made it sound like I'd failed him, like I was the problem, like I was broken somehow, too damaged or too selfish or too American to understand real love. My phone started buzzing immediately. Rosa, Uncle Roberto, even Aunt Carmen, who I'd barely spoken to. The messages came in rapid fire, one after another, filling my screen. "Rosa, how could you do this to my son? After everything we did for you, we welcomed you like family and this is how you repay us? Roberto, you led that boy on. Selfish. I knew you weren't serious. Carmen, we welcomed you into our home and this is what you do? Break his heart because you're too immature to handle a real relationship? Diego, Carlos deserves better. You wasted his time." They were attacking as a unit, coordinated, like they'd been waiting for this moment, like they had a group chat where Rosa had said, she broke up with him, attack now. I blocked all of them and sat on my couch shaking. Then I called Teresa. She answered on the first ring. What happened? I told him I needed space from his family and he broke up with me. My voice was shaking, tears running down my face. But he made it sound like it was my choice, like I failed some test. And now his whole family is texting me, calling me selfish and saying I led him on. That's the final manipulation, Teresa said quietly, and I could hear her moving around, probably pacing like she did when she was upset. He ends it, but frames it as your failure, makes you feel like you're the one who messed up, so you'll beg to stay in the trap, so you'll promise to do better and let them have more control. I almost did, I whispered. When he was walking out, I almost begged him to give me another chance, to let me prove I could be what he wanted. But you didn't. No, then you won, she said, her voice fierce. You got out. Do you know how many people don't? Do you know how many people spend years, decades, in situations like this because they keep thinking they can be better, they can be enough? I sat there crying, holding my phone. His whole family is texting me, calling me selfish, saying I wasted his time. Block them all. Every single one. They're trying to pull you back in. They want you to defend yourself, to engage, to feel guilty enough to go crawling back. She paused. You did the hardest thing. You chose yourself. Now you just have to keep choosing yourself until it gets easier. We talked for another hour. She told me it would hurt for a while, that I'd doubt myself, wonder if I'd made the right choice, question whether I was actually being too selfish or too independent, that I'd see him with someone new and it would sting, but that every day, I'd feel a little more like myself again, a little less like I needed permission to exist. The next week was hard. I kept checking my phone, expecting Carlos to text. Part of me wanted him to apologize and say he overreacted, wanted the easy ending where we worked it out. But Teresa's voice stayed in my head. That's what they count on, that you'll miss the good parts and forget why you left. I threw myself into work, finished the food truck article, pitched a new series on immigrant-owned restaurants, started wearing my own clothes again, the vintage dresses and band tees I actually liked instead of the boring blouses Rosa had approved of. Jen noticed. You seem more like yourself lately, less, muted. I feel more like myself, I admitted. We were at our favorite coffee shop, the one I'd stopped going to because Rosa said the neighborhood was sketchy. It's weird how much of me I lost without noticing. That's how it works with people like that, Jen said, stirring her latte. They don't take you all at once. They take little pieces until there's nothing left. Then they act surprised when you finally notice you're empty. I thought about that a lot over the next few days, about how I'd stopped going to my favorite places, stopped seeing certain friends, stopped making decisions without checking first, all in the name of being a good girlfriend, being part of a family, being enough. 2 weeks after the breakup, I was at a restaurant with Jen, celebrating finally finishing my immigrant restaurant series. My editor had loved it, said it was some of my best work in years. I'm proud of you, Jen said, raising her wine glass. You've seemed more creative lately, more present. I feel more present, I admitted, clinking my glass against hers. It's like I'd been holding my breath for months and I finally remembered how to exhale. I was about to take a sip when I saw him, Carlos, at a table near the window, the good spot that overlooked the street, with a blonde woman who was overdressed for this casual Italian place, wearing a white dress and heels like she was going to a wedding. Her makeup was perfect. Her hair was styled. She looked like she was trying way too hard to impress someone. She laughed at something he said, that kind of nervous laugh you give when you're desperate to make a good impression. The kind of laugh that says, please like me, please think I'm funny, please think I'm good enough. I knew that laugh. I'd made that laugh. He looked exactly the same. Confident, charming, leaning in with that smile that made you feel like you were the only person in the world. Like he'd never even thought about me after that night. Then he saw me. Our eyes met across the restaurant. His expression shifted. Not surprised, not uncomfortable, cold, satisfied, almost smug. Like he wanted me to see this. See how easily I'd been replaced. See that he'd moved on and I was nothing. Already forgotten. Already replaced by someone better. The blonde woman was still talking, gesturing with her wine glass, completely oblivious. I felt Jen tense beside me. Do you want to leave? I looked at Carlos, at the satisfied smirk on his face, at the woman who had no idea what she was walking into, at the performance of it all. And I didn't feel jealous. I didn't feel hurt or betrayed or like I'd lost something precious. I felt relief, deep, genuine relief that I was the one who'd walked away, that I'd never have to ask permission to live my own life again, that I'd never have to feel guilty for having boundaries, that the person sitting across from him, laughing too hard at his jokes, wasn't me. And pity, real pity for whoever she was, for the slow erosion she was about to experience, for the version of herself she was about to lose. I turned back to Jen, breaking eye contact with Carlos first. No, let's order dessert.